The Jacksonville Jaguars are 12-4, first in the AFC South, and one of the hottest teams in the NFL. So in today's video, I want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and why I think they are a legitimate threat inside the AFC to make it to a Super Bowl. Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys do go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. So yes, somehow, some way, the Jacksonville Jaguars are first in the AFC South, have one of the best records in football, and are playing some of the best football in the entire league. And it's not just me who's saying it, the numbers support the statement. They rank top 10 in points per game, top 10 in touchdowns per game. They rank in the top half in almost every single offensive statistic, both running and passing. Offensively, they've been a really solid unit for most of the season. Top 10 in opponents' points per game, 12th in opponents' yards per game, 13th in opponents' touchdowns per game. They're extremely stout against the run, and against the pass, they have some positives there too. This has been a Jaguars team that coming into the season, let's be honest, we had relatively higher expectations, but not to be 12-4. And for me, at least, I really didn't have the expectation they were even going to make the playoffs, because there's a few reasons why. Well, for starters, last year the team was not very good. They went 4-13. Trevor Lawrence was bad when he was healthy. The team looked like a bit of a mess. But then they reset the coaching staff. They kind of reset with Trevor Lawrence, giving him a new offensive head coach. And all of a sudden, this team has just exploded. And even up to like their bye week, right? When we look up their schedule this season, we got to week 8 and they were 4-3, coming off their worst loss of the season versus the Los Angeles Rams. And then after the bye, they had an overtime game versus a pitiful Las Vegas team, and then a bad loss to the Houston Texans. A game in which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they had a lead in that game. So this team was looking like a pretty mediocre football team. They were sitting at 5-4. They were looking like they could maybe contend for the 7th seed at the best, but more than likely they were going to be second in the AFC South, probably at that point behind Indianapolis or maybe Houston if they turn it around. And they were probably going to be missing the playoffs. But ever since week number 10, they have gone on a massive win streak. Their offense is on fire. The defense has been awesome basically the whole season, but it's been even better these past few weeks. And now a lot of the concerns we had about this team earlier in the season have kind of just fallen away. This Jaguars team is special. Again, when you look at what has happened since after that Houston Texans loss, they dominated the Los Angeles Chargers. They beat the Cardinals. They dominated the Titans. They dominated the Indianapolis Colts. They dominated the Jets. I think they dominated the Denver Broncos in a lot of ways. And they beat up on the Indianapolis Colts, and they're going to have another probable win here versus the Tennessee Titans. So a team that last year went 4-13 are very more than likely going to flip that record around, assuming they beat Tennessee and finish this year 13-4. I think there's a lot of credit that has to be given to multiple different players for the turnaround, not just from last year, this year, but also the turnaround from week 10 to now week 17. Because again, at week 10, they're 5-4. A good football team, but not a great football team. Not a team that was threatening to make a deep playoff run. But here we are. The credit has to go to a couple different people. First off, I think you have to give a lot of the credit to the coaching of Liam Cohen. He's done a great job in season of making the proper adjustments necessary to put Trevor Lawrence in situations where he's going to succeed. Even beyond Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne's having one of his best years of his career. And that's mainly due to the fact that Cohen has been able to line him up and put him in situations where he's able to operate in space, which is where I think he works best at. Sure, Etienne can work in between blockers and things like that, but if you get him out in space with a blocker in front of him, he can make some legitimate magic happen. So Cohen's done great for him. Cohen's also been able to adjust to some of the injuries in the receiving corps. Brian Thomas Jr. has been banged up this year and hasn't been like special like he was last year. Your first round pick and Travis Hunter hasn't played for most of the season. Your main guys have been the midseason acquisition of Jacoby Myers, which we'll give the front office a ton of credit for because he's been fantastic for them. And Parker freaking Washington has been dominating the past few weeks, has been one of their best receivers the entire season. You got to give credit to Liam Cohen. And for the front office side of things, I'm interested to see how the Travis Hunter thing ends up working out for them long term. Maybe that trade ends up looking bad in a couple years. But I liked Travis Hunter coming out of college. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I do think there's a chance for that trade of getting Travis Hunter to end up being a really good one. But then the midseason acquisition of Jacoby Myers, again, we just talked about a few minutes ago, but Jacoby's been great for this team. This is one of those teams that has had a lot of drops this year. Like Brian Thomas Jr. had some drops. Parker Washington's missed a few. There's been some drops this year that have been really frustrating for this team. They're one of the highest drop rate in the entire league. You bring in Jacoby Myers, who is as sure-handed as they get, and he's been perfect for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he has been Trevor's kind of go-to guy since they've gotten him from the Raiders, and he's been fantastic this year. So I do believe a lot of the credit has to go to those guys, the guys in the front office, Liam Cohen himself. They've done a magical job of just getting this team back on track, putting them in a position to succeed, getting the right people around Trevor. But then that also goes to the next person who deserves a ton of credit. That's Trevor Lawrence. Heading into the season, this did kind of feel like a bit of a make or break year for Trevor. Not like literally make or break, like he wasn't going to lose his job if he had a bad year, but it did feel like this was a guy that was maybe not on the hot seat, but kind of teetering on being at the hot seat for the quarterback position. And especially after the first few weeks where he was playing some really inconsistent game and he just wasn't playing particularly well, he's really done a great job of turning around his level of play mid-season to get this team where it needs to be. You can read the numbers right here. Heading into the game versus Houston, I mean, he had a couple good games in there, no doubt. The game versus Seattle, he had 2 touchdowns, no picks, 258 yards. The game versus Kansas City, he had 2 touchdowns, including that one magical one to win the game. Like, he had some good moments here and there, but it was very inconsistent. And heading after that Arizona game, since then, he's been on an absolute tear and has really turned his season around. And even beyond his season, I think he's also kind of turned his career around with these past few games because, again, heading into the season, there was a lot of expectations and hope for Trevor Lawrence. And had he not met the expectations for the entire year, we were going to have a lot of serious conversations about what Trevor's long-term future with Jacksonville would be because it wasn't looking like he was living up to that #1 overall pick hype. Now, yes, you could have made the excuse for him that the team had injuries around him. He had a new head coach who's now in his first ever head coaching position. Travis Hunter was injured and playing both ways. Like, you could have made those excuses for him. But when you are the #1 pick, you have a bunch of expectations. And given where Trevor's expectations were heading into the NFL, it felt like time was kind of ticking for him to get to that point. And he's done a great job. But heading into 2026 and 27 and beyond, knowing you're going to have this marriage of Trevor Lawrence with Liam Cohen, pair it up with Jacoby Myers, and if Travis Hunter takes a big step forward in the future, then you might have him as well on the offensive side of things. Like, there's a lot to look forward to with this team and with Trevor Lawrence, who, again, had a lot of expectations out of college, then kind of lived up to them for a few years, then kind of fell off a little bit, middled around for about 2 or 3 seasons, and then this year really has turned it around and looks to be, truly speaking, a franchise quarterback. Now, with Trevor, you also don't want to overreact to this really good stretch of games. He has to be able to translate this into the playoffs and into next year. But if this late little stretch here is an indication of what we can expect from Trevor long term, we're looking at a guy that could end up getting back into some EP conversations, which he has been in the past heading into seasons. So for Trevor, excellent job by him. I also think we have to give a ton of credit to this defense for the turnaround of Jacksonville. Last year, this Jaguars defense was fine. It wasn't good. It was missing some pieces, but it was, generally speaking, okay. It wasn't the reason why they were losing all their games. Again, it wasn't good by no means, but there was, a lot of other issues on that team outside of just the defense. But this year, the defense has done a fantastic job of completely turning around. Guys like Devin Lloyd, who has 5 interceptions on the season, has been one of the best off-ball linebackers in football. Josh Hines-Allen leads the team in sacks with 8 sacks. Aluakon leading the team in tackles. Like, all these guys have stepped their game up. And then on the back end, on the secondary, Jordan Lewis was working out prior to him being put on injury. Monteric Brown has been excellent for this team. Jarian Jones has been really good. Greg Newsome has been fine with this team. Like, there's a lot of nice pieces there to work with. The safeties have also been quite good as well. This is one of the better defenses in football. Now, I don't want to compare them to like a Houston or a Denver or anybody like that. But I think for what this defense is and what it has become this year, this is a defense that you can make a run in the playoffs. Again, this defense is not perfect by no means. They have some things they can definitely improve on. But I think if you're fully healthy heading into the playoffs, even if you have a couple injuries here and there, I think you can trust your defense to make that run. It's not a top 5 defense in football, but it has been playing on a maybe top 10 or borderline top 10 level in the league. And if you have that heading into postseason with an offense that's on fire, that can score 30 plus points at will, then you're looking at a team that can potentially make that deep run. So again, I think you got to give a ton of credit to Liam Cohen, the front office, for making some proper changes, adding the right pieces around Trevor and adding to the defense as well. You got to give a ton of credit for Trevor himself for finding ways to improve his game throughout the season. And then you got to give a crap ton of credit to this defense for being one of the best units in football and kind of keeping them in a lot of games earlier in the season when they were kind of struggling and faltering on the offense. It's been a great year for the Jacksonville Jaguars in multiple different ways. The turnaround has been great. But as we look towards the future now, we start talking about what does the postseason look like for Jacksonville. There's a lot to look forward to right now, because if you guys have watched my Texans video, if you guys watched my Patriots video, I'm going to say a lot of the same things I said in those videos in this little segment here. The AFC is wide open, and not just the AFC. The entire NFL is wide open this year. It's maybe the most open playoff run I maybe have ever seen, in at least in recent years, because there is not a dominant Kansas City. There's not a dominant Philadelphia. There's not a dominant, I don't know, Buffalo, Baltimore, Cincinnati those couple years. A prime New England with Tom Brady. Like, there's not one of those teams out there that is so above everyone else that it's so clear that they're going to make the championship run. Now, there are teams out there that I think have a better chance than some other teams. For example, like, I think the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks have a great chance of making a deep playoff run because they have experience and they've been excellent all year. But I wouldn't be surprised if a team like a Jacksonville or like a Houston or one of those types of teams, those teams that maybe have made the playoffs in the past but haven't been able to make that full playoff run, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys comes out of the AFC or NFC this year. It's just really that open this year. Like, it is a awesome year to have a good team like this because you can make that run. You may not have to be a perfect football team like maybe what you had to be versus a Kansas City a few years ago. But as long as you can hang your hat on something, and as long as you have a defense that can keep you in games, you're going to win some football games in the playoffs. And I look at Jacksonville with this AFC landscape, I legitimately believe they have a chance. I say the same thing about Houston. I say the same thing about New England, Denver, even the Chargers maybe. Like, there's 5 or 6 or 7 teams in there that all could make a run. Buffalo could as well. Like, there's a lot of teams that can make that run. And Jacksonville, who's playing their best football late in the season with a competent defense and an offense that's on fire, then you might have a chance this year to make that run that maybe you wouldn't have been able to make in past years. Because again, in past years, you had those dominant teams that were just simply more talented, had better quarterbacks. They were just a better team than what you were. But now this year specifically, where everything feels like it's so tight and teams are a lot more closer in competition and in terms of players and even now coaching, it now shapes a potential playoff tournament where every team has a legitimate chance, including a Jacksonville. With Trevor Lawrence improvement, with Liam Cohen running the ship, with Travis Etienne playing well, with trustworthy guys like Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington, I'd even mentioned Brenton Strange, and an offensive line that's been pretty decent this year, to go along with a top 10 level defense heading into the postseason, Jacksonville's a team that feels like they have a better chance than other teams out there. They also have a quarterback who's been in the postseason before. Liam Cohen has been in the postseason before. Etienne has been there, done that. Jacoby's a veteran. They got a bunch of older guys on the offensive line. This defense has experience as well. Eric Armstead, Josh Hines-Allen, Trevon Walker's been in the league for a few years now. This is not some young hotshot team that's on fire right now. You know, like maybe what we're seeing in New England. Now, New England has a great chance because Drake Mays is an MVP. Mike Vrabel's incredible. But they're a younger football team with a lot of young guys they're dependent on. Jacksonville is a team that, yeah, they have some young guys here and there. Bashal Tutin, Anton Harrison's fairly young. Some guys on defense have a lot of youth to them. Like, this is a younger football team, but they're not that young. They have enough experience out here to feel really confident when you're heading into a potential postseason run, where experience could be the factor that maybe allows you to make that deeper run. So Jacksonville is really in a prime position where they're going to have home field advantage in the first round, maybe even the second round, depending on how things go. And depending on how Week 18 plays out, right now they're projected to go up against the Buffalo Bills. And while the Bills have a ton of experience and might be one of those teams that you don't want to play in the first round, with the way that Jacksonville is playing and with how bad Buffalo's defense has been this year and how that offense can be affected and negatively hurt, I think Jacksonville's got a chance in that game. Now, in an ideal world, you're not playing a Buffalo. You'd rather play a Houston because you've played them twice already this year. You might even prefer Los Angeles because that offensive line stinks. So you might prefer to play somebody else, but I don't feel like Buffalo's a bad matchup for Jacksonville. I really do believe that Jacksonville could beat a team in Buffalo that has shown a lot of vulnerability this year. The AFC is so open. And even in the NFC, like, yeah, Philadelphia's good this year. Green Bay's good. Seattle's great. Los Angeles is great. San Francisco might be good too. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC. I still feel very confident if I were an AFC team and I were to make that Super Bowl run, I'm not going up against a team that is just a freaking superstar field, but Jacksonville has a great chance. So you guys let me know in the comment section below. What are your guys' thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars? Can they actually make that deep playoff run, or am I just kind of making some baloney up? Let me know down below. And if you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. We're getting there. We're getting close. So make sure you guys are subscribed if you're not. And I love you guys. Peace.